All right, hi everyone. My name is Ed. Welcome to my channel. This will be the first series video that I do. My channel is fairly new, so I appreciate you taking a look and subscribing if you like it. We do a lot of different things on this channel. I'm into four-wheelers, I'm into tractors, I'm into trucks. I'm into a lot of different things, and I've got a lot of projects to do this summer and spring, so stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of different content getting put up. But this is going to be the first one, and what you can see here is a Polaris 700 V-twin. It's a 2004. This is my father's four-wheeler. He bought it at an auction in probably 2006, 2007. He used it quite a bit, and then about 3 years ago, he had some issues with the carburetor and the fuel system, and so he tore into it himself. And he was getting up there in age, and unfortunately he didn't get it put back together right. And so it sat for about a year before I finally decided that I was going to put it back together for him. So last summer, I tore it down and did the full carburetor, fuel system, exhaust system, did pretty much an overhaul on it, got it running really well, and put it back together. I decided to use it this winter for snow plowing, and we had a failure in the front axle. So as you can see here, I've already pulled the front axle that failed, and we had a U-joint breakout on us. So I decided that since this is going to be around for a while and we're going to be using this unit, that I was going to put some time and money into it. And so what this series is going to be about is not just replacing one axle, but replacing all of the axles, because there's quite a few of these U-joints that are getting bad. There's a lot of play in the rear drive shaft, so we're going to do it all. And I decided as long as we were in there, we might as well do the bearings as well. So over on the bench, we've got 2 front axles, 2 rear axles, both from Auto Shack. And then we've got the rear bearings and the front bearings. One's a little bit bigger than the other, and those are from Rocky Mountain. We've got the rear drive shaft, we've got the brake pads, and then to finish it all up, we're going to put some new tires and rims on this, because these tires and rims are getting pretty old. As you can see, that one has a slow leak that we have to continue to fill, and so it's time to be done with that. Also, while I was at it, I bought a secondary rider rack. We have 6 members in our family, and as you can see, I'm kind of a Polaris guy. So we've got the Ranger that can hold 3. We've got the 6x6 that's a 2-up that can hold 2. And then now this will be able to hold 2. So we can go out with 3 wheelers and comfortably fit everybody and go riding. When I bought this, what I failed to realize is that it had heated hand grips. So that was kind of a nice surprise when it showed up. So I do plan on wiring those in so that they work. But then that reminded me that this originally had heated hand grips. And when I rewired everything and I put new headlights in it last year, I took that out because they weren't working and they were all chewed up. And at the time, I decided not to put it back in. However, now that I have this and it has heated hand grips, it only makes sense that this should have heated hand grips. So last night I ordered a new set, and I could have gotten a newer style, because what was originally on here, I'd have to dig it out, and maybe when I do the install of the hand grips, I will, but it just had an old toggle switch that had a high, a low, and an off, and it was just a steel band. It was kind of old school, and believe it or not, on Amazon I found the exact same thing, just new, so I ordered that up, and that's on its way, and we're going to get that done too. And then as long as I was at it, I figured a rear bumper would never hurt. Now I found this on eBay. It's used, but used is fine because the rest of the four-wheeler's used. So we'll put that on, and then as you can see, I like winches and I like lights, and so this will be getting some extra lights, some reverse lights. It's already got a winch. That was the original winch that was on there. I put a nylon rope on instead of the wire. It's a little bit safer, and color scheme wise it matches. So that is the outline of what we're going to be doing here. And then I just wanted to point out that my dad was one of those guys that liked to improvise and didn't always do things the right way. And so when the fuel system and carburetor were acting up, he decided to make himself an access point on the fender. Unfortunately, I wish I would have been there to stop him, but the good news is this whole foot pan is one piece, so there is hope that I can get a replacement, and I'll be able to just replace this whole thing, so there hopefully will be no harm done. I haven't been able to find one. I found the other side, I just haven't found this one, but I am on the lookout for that so that I can hopefully clean that up. And it's never going to be brand new, it's never going to be perfect, but hopefully we can get it into good, clean operating shape, and it'll last us a while. All right, so with that, we're going to get into it. Those off. All right, tires are off in the rear. The next step is this castle bolt needs to come out. Okay, both cotter pins are out. And hub. Okay, take a look at this hub. And nice ring of gunk and slew pieces, and can't blame Dad for that. That was my fault. I'm the one that liked to get it muddy. All right. So I've got the hubs off on both sides on the back, and looking at them, this is of course the right side. Only one side has a brake on it, and it's more of the emergency brake or the backup brake. Front brakes are what's run off the handlebars. This is off the foot brake. Here are the pads. You can see not as worn as I thought they would be, but again, as long as we're doing it, we're going to replace them. Not a ton of wear on the rotor either, but again, doesn't get used a whole lot. At least that's the goal. The front brakes and handlebar brakes are the main brake. So this one, pretty tight, not a lot of backlash there. That's good. This one's got quite a bit of backlash. So again, those U joints in there, the CV joints, they're probably ready to go. And then the next step is to take this top linkage bolt out, and then both of these on the bottom support arm, and we'll be able to get this bearing race off, and then we can work on taking the axles out. But this shouldn't be too big of a deal. Okay, so I got both axles removed, axles removed from the back, and I didn't do that on camera, but it's really not hard once you get everything else out of the way. They just are kind of a pressure fit. Now you can see there's a keeper ring that sits on the inside and just applies a little pressure in a groove to hold it in. Once you snap it past that, it slides right out, and they're splined. So we're going to go from the transmission back and just kind of look at everything, but I already saw a couple things that I'm not liking much. First of all, here's our rear drive shaft. Okay, and I'm going to show you the new one on the bench. Oh. So you can see on the new one, everything's nice and tight. There's no slop, right? All those needle bearings are good and sealed in there. And then you see this little hole. So the shaft is splined, right? And then there's a little hole, and on the input side, which is also splined, there should be a hole, and that is for one of these roll pins, right? So the roll pin goes in there, and you drive it all the way through the output shaft to the other side, and even though it's splined, there's still a roll pin to make sure that it's not going to spin if your splines start to run down. Right, so one on the front, one on the back. Now, this side, you can see that there's a roll pin right there. Okay, and what you hear there is the transmission, but this side isn't too bad. It's relatively still there. Now let's look at this side that goes into the rear diff.
problem number one. And if you can see, there is no roll pin. And you can even see some of the splines through the hole, which means it's not lined up with the hole. Okay, that's problem number one. Problem number two, I might have to take you to the other side. Try to get the light right here. And get you in a position to see. There we go. That ain't supposed to be like that. There is no needles left in that, and it's all broken out. One of the main reasons I wanted to do this whole thing. Okay, so the next part is I got to get this pulled out, but this drives the rear differential. Here's your rear differential. Okay, you can see rotation on there. That is splined. That splines into the rear axles, which we pulled and I showed you. Okay, now you can see the CV joints and these boots, dust covers, they're all blown out. Not ideal. Yeah, bad shape. Needed to be done. Needed to be done for a long time. Okay, then from there, these ride in the hubs, which are splined. The hubs ride inside these bearings right here, which are pressed in to these hubs. So after that shaft comes out, next step is pressing these old bearings out and putting the new ones in. Alright, so I went ahead and got that shaft off. Did that off camera as well. But you can see, popped the roll pin out, which came out in pieces. I did have to take the U-joint apart to get it out. But the interesting thing is, after looking at this shaft, there is no hole for a roll pin. Therefore, they had no roll pin in there. So that answers that question. So here's the old shaft. Again, you can see that we were in for another major failure on this. That was all breaking out, and shortly I would have no power to the rear end if that was left as is. So it's a good thing we're doing it. That and most of these roller bearings on all these caps were pretty dry and in bad shape. So, and then there's that roll pin. It came out in two pieces. Yeah. So we got the new one. That'll go in, but that's for another video. I got one of the new brake pads out just to show you some differences between the two. Alright, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Yeah, not working so well. But you can see, not terribly worn, but a noticeable difference. So when we put it back together, we'll put the new pads in. And in the next video, we will tackle the rear wheel bearings, which, again, I looked at, and not terrible. Not terrible. Not a lot of play, so that's good, but again, we're doing it. I don't want to have to do it again, so we'll just do it all at one time. So the next video will be getting those wheel bearings pressed out, getting the new ones pressed in, and then start looking at putting the rear end back together. All right, so that is it for tonight. If you like the content, please subscribe, and I'll see you for episode 2 hopefully shortly.